Alright, hey guys, it's Billy from AdultCello.com. So we're in the car right now. About a week ago, we got back from Italy, picked up my new cello, which is incredible. I'm still a little jet lagged, so it's 7:30 and I am wide awake on a Sunday. We're going to Ojai to get a little breakfast and do the farmer's market. And then today, what I wanted to talk about was practice. It's a major part of our cello journey, and I remember when I was starting out, I had all types of questions like, how do I stack up to other people in terms of like how I'm practicing, how much time I'm putting in. So I want to just dive into some of the most commonly asked questions I get and give some answers that'll hopefully help you out. And then we'll also get to check out Ojai together a little bit. So, all right, let's get going. Gear this towards people who just started the cello journeys because that's when you're probably most confused. I think it's very important at the beginning to get a consistent start. So ideally practicing every day. I think that a half hour to 45 minutes is a great period of time. When you're just starting to play, I remember from personal experience, my fingertips were really sore. The muscles in my hands were, I was probably over squeezing as well, but my hands were physically sore the next day. So you don't want to kind of overdo things. And also my bow grip was not very comfortable. I'm sure you can sympathize with that. So a half hour to 45 minutes, you're going to get some really good work in, but you're not going to get so like tired and uncomfortable that the next day you can't come back and do it again. I have a course, Cello in 30 Days, and that's basically the design of the course. It's 30 sequential lessons, and each lesson is about 30 minutes long because I find that that's kind of a perfect amount for someone starting off in terms of, making progress and feeling good about it, but also not just kind of overdoing things. That being said, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later, but it's better to do a little bit every day than to think, oh, well, I don't have 30 minutes today, so I'm just gonna like put it off and not touch the cello. I mean, if you got 5-10 minutes, I say go for it, but consistency is key. So I actually just got this question from a student like a couple days ago. She was saying that her teacher was saying don't practice more than 60 minutes because in between lessons you might develop a bad habit and then you're working it in. I think that's a little finicky for my taste. I think if you're enjoying yourself and you're loving your practice, you should just let yourself practice as much as you want, pretty much. I do think you should limit your practice in the sense of any kind of physical pain you're feeling. So if you're feeling fatigue, if you're feeling like especially any kind of tendon or ligament kind of twinged discomfort, that kind of thing, definitely like take a break for a few minutes at least and then try practicing again. And if you still feel pain, maybe shut it down for the day and come back, okay? Physical pain you have to listen to for sure. I learned that the hard way. However, in terms of like avoiding bad habits, I think getting bad habits and correcting them, that's called learning. And I think the more you play cello, I do believe that if you just spend more time on the instrument, it's going to get you further in the long run. If you're getting lessons especially, and someone's helping you correct your bad habits, just practice, have fun. Yeah. Okay, if you've carved out only 15 minutes at a time, it would be ridiculous, obviously, to like, okay, I'm gonna do 3 minutes now and then 12 minutes later. So I'd say under 30 minutes of practice, go ahead and just do it in one session. If you're starting to practice an hour, 2 hours, I would highly recommend seeing if you can find time in your day to break it up into 2 sections at least, because you want your brain to be fresh. From my own personal experience, I got into a mode at one point where I was just like, okay, I'm just getting this done. I have this arbitrary time amount I thought that I needed to be practicing, and I just want to get it all done. Why not? So I would sit down, and I was putting over 2 hours in one sitting. And I'd take little stretch breaks, but basically just straight for 2 hours. And I found that if I was being honest with myself, probably after about 30 minutes, my efficiency and my mental capacity to really focus on what I'm trying to do was greatly diminished. And by an hour and a half in, just mindless repetitions, because I was exhausted mentally. Multiple sessions gives you a chance to really hone in on what you're trying to do, and then get a real true break to have your brain focus on other things and enjoy that, and then you can hit it hard again when you come back, say, in the evening. This is a little complicated, and it brings in that 10,000 hour rule that is got super popular, at least in America. It's the idea there is that basically to achieve mastery in any field that requires kind of expertise and nuance, you need 10,000 hours of diligent practice, and then you should get there. I think that rule is misleading and misguiding. What I found with that study and when I read that was that I got obsessed with, okay, I need 10,000 hours. So for me, and I realize I misinterpreted the rule, but I think we get obsessed with how much time we're putting in. So I just started logging hours. And, I was trying to practice well, but basically the focus was hit 3 hours a day of practice, 4 hours a day of practice, which I was for years. I think more important to that question of getting good, like on cello, is how you practice and trying to focus on the right things, even right from the start. So my whole approach is to try to make a beautiful sound right away, because for adult learners, that's what's going to motivate you. It's what's going to inspire you to keep practicing, and then you'll want to make it part of your lifestyle, okay? So if you're focusing on making a beautiful sound, within a week or two on open strings, first day, I believe you can start to make a beautiful sound. You're gonna feel like you're getting good at cello because you're enjoying the sound you're making. So straight up, if you're trying to play complicated classical music and you're sonatas, concertos, the hard repertoire, it's gonna take years. I mean, obviously, most people know that it's not like an overnight kind of process, but that's why it's so important. If you just focus on truly making a beautiful sound right off the bat, it's gonna make you feel like you're getting good, and that's motivating, and it's not wrong. All right, so we're headed now to the farmers market. Let's check it out. I think so. That's amazing. Let's get some. Try to develop consistency in your practice. It's very easy to feel like, okay, I need 45 minutes, that's what I want. I want 45 minutes of uninterrupted, perfect time for practice, and then, the whole day goes by, you didn't find those 45 minutes, so you didn't practice that day. Next day is another busy day, and then pretty soon, even though you're excited about cello, it's been 3 or 4 days in a row you haven't practiced, and then you can start quickly to lose steam, especially if cello is kind of a newer pursuit for you. 5 to 10 minutes can make a difference. If you just have 5 minutes in a day, and most people can find 5 minutes, that sitting down and playing, and just you make a little micro goal, like, okay, I'm going to work on playing open strings or a 1-octave scale with a beautiful tone, a really straight bow, really opening the sound up. 5 to 10 minutes is plenty of time to do that. You will thank yourself by staying consistent. And it's kind of one of those things with like lifestyle where, okay, now I'm a cellist, I play cello, that's what I do. So every day, even if I only have 5 minutes, I'm going to touch the cello, practice on it, because that's who I am. This is part of who I am now and what I do. I think that will, all those little pieces where you sort of, negotiated with your day and you made, okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. After a year, all those little pieces of time really add up, and you're going to thank yourself in the long run. All right, so this is one of the last great used bookstores that I know about. There was a bookstore in LA called Dutton's that I basically lived at before I started playing cello, and then that closed. So this is Bart's Books. It hasn't opened yet. So I thought I would just take a second and talk about my practice kind of journey, which is completely concurrent with my cello journey, but they're, in a weird way, they're sort of like separate things, because sometimes you are practicing less, but you're making bigger strides for whatever reason. I've had that, and I've had times where, I'm practicing an incredible amount and I hit a plateau, and it's just the amount of work I'm putting in doesn't equal. I feel like I'm making less progress even though I'm putting in the same amount of effort. When I started, I was practicing maybe 20-30 minutes a day. That quickly turned into at least an hour a day because I kind of caught the bug. By about a year in, I was practicing at least 2 hours a day, and then I went back to school. And at one point, I had a string of teachers, and one of my earlier teachers, about 2 years in, he just an offhand comment. He was like, well, if you want to be professional, you should be practicing 4 or 5 hours a day. That, combined with my knowledge of the 10,000 hour rule, all of that kind of coagulated. And in my head, I just got this idea of like, okay, if I practice 4 to 5 hours a day, I'm on my way to becoming professional. So that's exactly what I did for 4 to 5 years. And that's when that's the period I'm talking about most when I talk about prioritizing what you're doing versus just trying to log hours, because that was probably my downfall. I made plenty of progress, but I would have gotten much further if I had been focused on the right stuff. And it's just vacillated ever since. Now my practice is much more geared around projects, or if I have an upcoming performance, I'll put in more time. I generally try to go at least 90 minutes a day just for fitness, general cello fitness. I don't want to lose technique. And now that I have my new cello from Italy, I'm gonna be probably putting in a little bit more practice just because I'm so excited by the sound I'm making on it. And I think focusing on quality and not getting too hung up on putting in a certain length of time, but just being consistent, trying to touch the cello every day and get really quality practice no matter what time length. That's, I think, if I had to say one takeaway I've had from my own journey, is that's really where my focus is at these days. All right, so there we have it. Please stay tuned. I got some really exciting videos planned. I have a whole series on mental practice. We're gonna take that journey together if you go with me. I'm excited about that. And also I have some videos coming up where I'm gonna basically unveil my new cello and just kind of share a little bit of my Italian vacation with you guys. So, all right, thanks so much. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. See you next week.